Right now, as you're listening to this, there are probably millions of microscopic, jagged particles just floating around your space.
Actively tearing microfissures into your furniture, actually.
Exactly, degrading your carpets and, like,
Right.
genuinely eating up your brain's cognitive bandwidth. And I bet your instinct is probably to just grab a wet wipe or, I don't know, a generic spray can and just kind of hope for the best.
Which is usually the exact moment you turn a temporary mess into, like, permanent, really expensive property damage.
Right.
We just completely misunderstand the environments we live and work in. We treat our physical spaces like static boxes that just occasionally need to be tidied up
Mhm.
rather than active degrading ecosystems that require actual scientific maintenance.
And that is the perfect setup for today's deep dive. Welcome, everyone. Today, our mission is taking something you probably view as a deeply mundane, maybe frustrating chore cleaning, and we're flipping it completely on its head.
We really are.
We're going to explore the hidden, highly quantifiable return on investment of a spotless space. And to do this, we are pulling from the operational insights and field data of Red Apple Cleaning. They're a professional service operating out of one of the most uniquely hostile environments in the country, Las Vegas, Nevada.
It's an intense place to try and keep a building clean, that's for sure.
Definitely. So whether you're scaling a startup or maybe dealing with intense chore burnout at home, or, you're just insanely curious about the invisible warfare happening on your kitchen counter right now, this deep dive is going to change how you see your physical space.
I think we really need to start where the stakes are the absolute highest
Hmm.
and the financial impact is, the most measurable.
The modern workplace.
Exactly, the
Right.
workplace. Because most people look at office cleaning as taking out the trash, making sure the bathroom has paper towels, maybe wiping down the break room microwave.
Right. It gets filed under basic janitorial duty.
Right. But that fundamental misunderstanding costs companies an absolute fortune in lost productivity. Cleanliness isn't just aesthetics, it's a huge driver for productivity and asset protection.
Well, let's talk about that productivity loss because I really want to look at the psychological component first. I always compare a messy desk or like a cluttered office to having 50 tabs open on your internet browser.
That's a great analogy.
Thanks.
Yeah.
Because even if you're only looking at one tab, those other 49 are secretly eating up your computer's RAM in the background, just slowing the whole system down.
Yeah, and the human brain operates on a very similar principle. Your visual cortex doesn't just passively receive imagery, it actively scans your environment constantly.
Just looking for things to deal with.
Exactly, looking for changes, threats, tasks to complete. Every single piece of visual clutter in your peripheral vision. So, like a stack of unsorted mail, a coffee stain on the carpet, a dusty monitor, it's a piece of data.
So your brain is just constantly crunching numbers in the background.
Yeah, right. Your brain has to process that data, evaluate it, and then expend active neurological energy deciding to ignore it.
Wow. So you are basically fighting a low-level battle for your own attention before you've even, opened a single email for the day.
You are. You're inducing cognitive fatigue. When employees work in a pristine, meticulously maintained office, that visual clutter is simply gone. You are literally freeing up their mental RAM.
That makes so much sense.
And that reduction in cognitive load translates directly into lower baseline stress, fewer errors, and vastly higher focus on complex tasks.
I'll be honest, though. If I'm a business owner and I'm looking at my quarterly budget, cleaning still feels like a sunk cost to me.
Sure, it's a common trap.
Right. Like, if you tell me to spend premium money on high-end facility maintenance, my first thought is, a vacuum is a vacuum. I can buy a cheap one at a big box store and pay an intern to run it on Friday afternoons. Convince me why I shouldn't just do that.
Well, first, let's look at the external perception, which directly impacts your revenue. This is basically the broken window theory applied to corporate competence.
Okay, unpack that for me.
So, when a high-value client or a potential investor walks into your lobby, their brain is subconsciously looking for indicators of stability, right?
Yeah.
Attention to detail. If they sit on a couch with a faint odor, or they see, calcification on the glass conference room doors, a subconscious narrative forms.
They start projecting that mess onto your work.
Exactly. The immediate thought is, if this company drops the ball on the environment they live in every single day, what critical details are they going to miss on my account?
Oh, wow. Yeah, the environment becomes a physical manifestation of your company's operational standards. Like, if the lobby is a mess, your accounting is probably a mess too.
Exactly that. But the internal metric is actually even more costly. Let's look at employee health and absenteeism. A standard office is a highly effective incubator for pathogens.
Ugh, don't remind me.
I mean, one sick employee touches a conference room door handle, right? Then the coffee pot, then a printer. Within hours, those microscopic pathogens are distributed across the entire staff.
So the whole office goes down.
Right. And professional cleaning doesn't just make things look nice, it physically breaks the chain of infection. By actively neutralizing hidden bacteria and extracting allergens, you see a dramatic drop in sick days.
Because people aren't just passing the same cold back and forth for 3 months.
Exactly. If you reduce your workforce's absenteeism by even 5% over a year, the professional service pays for itself several times over.
Not to mention the opportunity cost of having your operations manager running around trying to figure out who left their Tupperware in the fridge, right?
Yes, you're paying a high salary for someone to manage logistics, and they are spending their time managing chores.
That's a terrible ROI.
It really is. Scaling a business requires ruthless delegation of non-core tasks. Outsourcing facility maintenance means your management focuses entirely on revenue-generating activities. Plus, you eliminate the capital expenditure of buying, storing, and repairing heavy commercial janitorial equipment. It shifts from a frustrating sunk cost to a real strategic operational advantage.
Okay, so if a business understands this ROI and they get their internal space optimized, they then have to face the external forces working against them. And looking at the data from Red Apple Cleaning, this is where geography becomes the ultimate enemy.
Oh, absolutely.
Because they operate heavily in Las Vegas, Henderson, Enterprise, and Spring Valley. What actually changes when you drop a business into the Mojave Desert?
Well, the geography is an active participant in how a building degrades. People tend to think of the desert simply as, like, dry or hot.
Right, that's what I always thought, just really dry.
But from a facility maintenance perspective, it is an environment of constant abrasive assault. The Mojave is incredibly dusty. And that particulate matter isn't just fluffy dirt. It contains really high levels of microscopic silica.
Silica being essentially tiny, jagged pieces of sand and quartz, right?
Yes, exactly. And because modern commercial buildings and homes are designed to be highly energy efficient, they're sealed really tight.
Oh, so it just gets trapped.
Right. The HVAC systems pull this fine, jagged desert dust inside, and the climate-controlled environment just traps it there. It settles into the carpets, the upholstery, the air ducts.
Okay, but going back to my stubborn business owner mindset, why can't I just go buy a heavy-duty shop vacuum and just suck up the sand?
Because standard vacuums are not sealed systems, and their filters are far too porous. When you run a standard vacuum over fine desert silica, you might pick up the larger pebbles, but the powerful suction actually agitates the microscopic dust.
Oh.
Yeah, it shoots it straight out the exhaust vent, right back into the air. You aren't cleaning the room, you're literally creating an indoor dust storm.
So you're just aerosolizing the very particles that degrade your respiratory system.
Exactly. You're just relocating the invisible problem from the floor straight into your lungs.
That is terrifying.
It is. To actually remove that specific type of environmental particulate, you have to use scientific extraction. This means employing commercial-grade equipment with HEPA filtration.
And HEPA stands for high-efficiency particulate air, right?
That's right. These filters aren't just simple nets, they're incredibly dense mazes of randomly arranged fiberglass fibers.
Okay.
So they force the air to change direction constantly, which causes microscopic particles to crash into the fibers and become permanently trapped. That is the only way to genuinely extract the dust from the ecosystem and, actually improve the indoor air quality.
Okay, so the air in the desert is actively working against you, acting like microscopic sandpaper. But it turns out, from what I read in the sources, the water in the desert is equally hostile, right?
Oh, the water is arguably worse.
Really?
Yeah. The Las Vegas area is notorious for its exceptionally hard water. When water falls as rain, it's naturally soft, but as it travels through the ground in the southwest, it dissolves massive amounts of minerals, primarily calcium and magnesium.
So when I wash my hands or, someone wipes down a glass shower door with a wet rag, what is actually happening there?
Well, the water evaporates, but those heavy minerals do not. They are left behind on the surface. And over time, as this process repeats, the calcium and magnesium begin to form rigid mineral lattices.
Like little rock formations on your glass.
Pretty much. They bond molecularly to glass, metal fixtures, and tile. This is calcification.
And I'm guessing a generic spray isn't going to fix that.
Not at all. If you just spray generic glass cleaner and wipe it with a paper towel, you're doing absolutely nothing to the mineral bond. In fact, if left untreated, the calcification will eventually etch into the glass permanently, completely ruining it.
So it requires an actual chemical intervention to break that bond.
It requires highly specific, professional descaling agents. These agents are formulated to dissolve the calcium lattice safely without eating into the metal or the glass underneath.
Which takes some actual chemistry knowledge.
Exactly. It is a delicate balance of chemistry that generic housekeeping supplies simply cannot achieve.
Which brings us to, honestly, the most dangerous part of this whole equation. You have hostile air filled with silica, you have hostile water leaving behind calcium bonds, and so human beings naturally try to fight back, right?
Yes, they do.
We go to the store, we buy a bunch of brightly colored bottles of chemicals, and we decide to play amateur chemist.
And that is where the most expensive property damage occurs. The danger of DIY cleaning is profound. People operate with the best of intentions, but because they don't understand the molecular makeup of the materials in their own homes, they end up destroying them.
I am going to confess right now to being completely guilty of this.
Most people are.
If I smell something weird in a room, maybe the dog came inside wet or I cooked something really pungent, my immediate reaction is to grab an aerosol air freshener and just spray half the can in a sweeping motion like I'm putting out a fire.
You and millions of other people. The marketing for those products is incredibly effective. But let's break down the biology and physics of what you are actually doing. First, we have to understand what a smell is. We tend to think of an odor as like a formless, invisible aura.
Right.
But odors are physical objects.
Wait, a smell is a physical thing?
Absolutely. When you smell pet odor, cooking grease, or mildew, what is happening is that microscopic physical particles of dead skin cells, aerosolized fat, or rotting bacteria are floating through the air and physically landing on the olfactory receptors inside your nose.
Okay, that is incredibly gross to think about. I am literally breathing in tiny pieces of rotting bacteria.
It is visceral, but it's the reality of indoor air quality. Now, think about what happens when you spray that store-bought aerosol can. You are not killing the bacteria or extracting the grease from the carpet.
So what am I doing?
You are simply releasing heavy synthetic oil droplets into the air.
So I'm just throwing a heavy perfume on top of the bacteria.
It's actually worse than that. Many of those aerosol products contain chemical masking agents that physically coat your nasal passages.
Yeah.
They temporarily blunt your scent receptors.
You're kidding me.
Nope. So the physical particles of rotting bacteria are still in your carpet, they're still floating in the air, and they're still entering your lungs. You haven't cleaned the room. You have temporarily blinded your own nose to the hazard.
Wow. That completely changes how I view air fresheners. You literally have to extract the physical particle at the source to actually solve the problem.
Exactly. Extraction is everything.
Okay, so that's odors. What about stains? Because I have definitely spilled coffee or wine on a carpet and immediately grabbed a brush and scrubbed it furiously, thinking friction was my best friend.
Oh, friction is the absolute worst enemy of a carpet.
Really?
Yeah. Let's look at the microscopic structure of carpet.
Yeah.
The fibers are essentially tiny, delicate, twisted tubes of yarn. When you dump a harsh chemical on a stain and aggressively scrub it back and forth, you are generating thermal friction. This acts like taking sandpaper to a delicate sweater.
Oh, so you're just tearing the material apart?
Yes. The heat and friction cause those tightly wound fibers to untwist and fray permanently, which ruins the texture. Worse, the downward pressure of your scrubbing pushes the liquid stain completely through the backing of the carpet and deep into the underlying foam pad.
Which means it's just going to wick right back up to the surface in a few days anyway.
Precisely. You haven't removed the stain, you've just buried it, and in the process, you've permanently destroyed the structural integrity of the fibers in that spot.
So how are you supposed to do it?
True professional extraction uses specialized water pressure, calibrated temperatures, and immediate massive vacuum suction to lift the material up and out before it ever reaches the pad without damaging the yarn.
Okay, I have one more DIY disaster I need you to explain because I see this all over social media.
Oh, I can probably guess what it is.
People love using natural cleaners. They will take lemon juice or white vinegar and use it to scrub their expensive natural stone countertops or their marble floors.
Oh yeah, that is a remarkably fast way to ruin thousands of dollars of stonework. People hear the word natural and equate it with safe. But lemon juice and vinegar are highly acidic. And marble, limestone, travertine, they're composed heavily of calcium carbonate.
Which reacts with acid.
Violently.
Mm.
When you spray an acidic cleaner onto a marble countertop, an immediate chemical reaction occurs. The acid actually dissolves the top microscopic layer of the stone.
It just eats it away.
Yep. This is called etching. It leaves dull, white, rough marks that look like water stains, but they aren't stains at all. It is physical, permanent erosion of the rock,
That's horrifying.
and no amount of wiping will fix it because the material is literally gone. It requires a professional stone restoration expert to come in and physically grind down the entire surface with diamond pads to level it out again.
So trying to save $20 by using pantry ingredients instead of hiring a professional can result in a massive financial hit. You are wasting your own weekend playing chemist, and you are actively degrading the physical assets of your property.
It is a double financial penalty. Regular, scientifically sound professional maintenance actually preserves your assets. It extends the lifespan of your natural stone, prevents your carpets from fraying, and stops your HVAC from burning out due to clogged silica dust.
It's just smart math at that point.
Exactly. The long-term cost savings of not having to replace your interior finishes far outweigh the cost of the service.
You know, this brings up such an interesting paradox. If modern businesses understand this math, if they know that outsourcing facility maintenance saves money, protects assets, and boosts productivity, why do individuals torture themselves at home?
That is the million-dollar question.
Why do we value a company's operational efficiency but completely devalue our own personal time?
It's a huge societal disconnect, and it results in a phenomenon called chore burnout.
Mm.
We live in an era where the demands on our time are completely unprecedented. You spend 40 to 50 hours a week navigating a demanding career, managing complex family logistics, trying to maintain some semblance of physical health.
And then, when the weekend finally arrives, you transition into an amateur janitor.
Yes.
There is nothing quite as soul-crushing as finishing a brutal work week, waking up on Saturday, and realizing you have to spend the next 6 hours scrubbing baseboards and dusting ceiling fans.
And this touches on the concept of recovery time. Your weekend is biologically and psychologically necessary to recover from the stress of the week. If you spend that critical window doing hard, manual labor in a hostile environment, breathing in agitated dust, you never actually recover.
You just enter the new work week already depleted.
Exactly. If you are consistently losing your weekends to deep cleaning, it is the primary indicator that your personal ecosystem is failing and professional intervention is needed.
And looking at the operational data from Red Apple Cleaning, there seems to be a specific moment when this chore burnout reaches an absolute breaking point, and that's during the relocation process. Their data shows a massive demand for move-in and move-out services.
Oh, without a doubt. Relocating is a period of intense vulnerability. The sheer psychological and logistical load of packing up your entire life, coordinating movers, transferring utilities, it pushes most people to their absolute limits.
And then you stare at an empty 2,000 square foot house and realize every single inch of surface area needs to be sanitized.
It causes a system failure for most people. I mean, trying to leave a prior residence perfectly spotless to secure a deposit, or attempting to deeply sanitize a new home to ensure it's safe before you unpack your life into it. It requires massive physical energy that you simply do not have at that moment.
Especially in environments like Las Vegas, where the dust settles into every crevice of an empty property.
Exactly. Having a strategic partner who can execute a deep scientific clean during that transition isn't a luxury. It is a critical preservation of your mental health. Red Apple Cleaning has built their whole model around this. They serve Las Vegas, Henderson, Enterprise, and Spring Valley with routine office cleaning, large commercial projects, and these deep move-in, move-out services.
Oh, that's great. And what was their number again?
It's 702-268-9941.
Perfect, because this changes the entire framing of what we are actually paying for. When you hire a professional service, you aren't just buying a clean living room.
No. You are buying back the only non-renewable resource you have, which is your time. You're dramatically lowering your daily anxiety by removing the visual clutter that taxes your brain's processing power.
Right.
And on a purely physiological level, by having experts extract the silica, allergens, and physical bacteria from your environment, you're fundamentally upgrading the air quality of the space where you spend the vast majority of your life.
I think that is the perfect place to land the plane. Let's run through a quick recap of the major shifts in perspective we've explored today. First, cleanliness is not an aesthetic luxury.
Not at all.
It is a highly measurable asset that lowers cognitive load, builds subconscious trust, and prevents expensive absenteeism. Second, your local geography dictates your battle plan.
That's a big one.
Right. If you live in a desert climate, you are fighting microscopic silica and calcifying hard water, which requires scientific extraction like HEPA filtration and descaling agents, not just generic surface wiping.
And third, Please step away from the aerosol cans and the vinegar.
Seriously.
DIY chemistry usually results in masking problems or permanently destroying expensive assets like natural stone and carpet fibers.
A huge thank you to the team at Red Apple Cleaning Out in Nevada for providing the field data and operational insights that powered this deep dive. They really pulled back the curtain on the invisible mechanics of the spaces we inhabit every day.
It is entirely fascinating to realize how much invisible warfare is happening right in front of us. And I want to leave you with one final thought to mull over as you look around your own room today. We have spent this time exploring how visual clutter, microscopic dust, and hidden bacteria directly degrade our stress levels, our physical health, and our professional focus. It really makes you wonder, if our physical environment so heavily dictates our mental capacity, how much of your own potential is currently being capped by a space that you simply haven't optimized? What could you actually achieve if the ecosystem around you was finally working for you instead of against you?
Stop obsessing over the premium fuel and take a look at the oil filter. Thanks for joining us on this deep dive. Keep questioning the everyday, and we will catch you on the next one.